Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for Access City Council. I'm your host, City of Las Vegas Communications Director David Riggleman. Coming up on this show, the city makes its case to state lawmakers. We take a deep dive into the 2025 legislative session, the city's priorities, and how it impacts you. Here to talk about all this and much more is our Ward 3 City Councilwoman. You know who it is, Olivia Diaz. Welcome back to the program.
Hi, Happy New Year to everyone.
How are you? Your first show of 2025.
Yes.
Good to have you on.
It's already February.
I know.
I can't believe how quickly the first month has already flown by.
I know, it flies along. And this year, 2025, means legislative session. We're going to talk about that in a couple of seconds. But before we get there, folks, if you don't know where Ward 3 is located just exactly, well, we're going to show you on the map. Basically, the east side of the city of Las Vegas. But the councilwoman has got like the cool ward because she's got East Las Vegas, the Arts District, downtown, and now the area over there west of the 15, I-15, where Area 15 is. So, like anything entertainment in the city, you pretty much have a lock on. I'm thinking there.
I have a good showing for sure.
You do,
yeah,
you do all the way around. Well, Councilwoman, as we said, the legislative session is just underway. Randy Robison is joining us here. He is going to talk about our priorities here at the city, where we're headed. He, of course, is our Director of the Office of Government and Community Affairs. Randy Robison, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. I know this is your time of year, the time of year, the biennium, where here we go again. It's Carson City nonstop for the next 120 days.
Yep,
yeah,
that's right. That's right. You know, we've got the Super Bowl coming up in the NFL, and most of us look at the legislative session as kind of a elongated Super Bowl. So
yeah, a very long one.
Yeah, but
Randy, great to have you. Councilwoman, this is right up your alley, too, because you are a former state lawmaker yourself.
Yes, was in the halls of the legislature back in 2011 through 2017, served 4 regular sessions, 4 special sessions, and I know how important that work is every other year, and I wish that there was a way to expedite it, the change to a constitution to then have annual sessions, because it is like a high pressure cooker every session we have, and there's just so many important things that we need to accomplish collectively as a state, and especially for our residents, that just feel like every 2 years is too much of a wait to undertake policy decisions that have an impact, a direct impact on our quality of life.
Councilwoman, you're well aware of this. Randy, let's talk about this a little bit. People may not be familiar with the term Dillon's Rule State. Nevada is a Dillon's Rule state. Explain that to the viewers and why that's so important when the legislature convenes every other year.
Sure. Dillon's Rule is named after the judge who crafted the rule way back in the late 1800s. And essentially it says that the state is sort of in control, right? So we're not a, quote, home rule state. There are a lot of, we have a lot of flexibility here at the local level of things that we can't do.
City ordinances, things like that, right?
But there are specific things that we don't have the authority to do, like taxation, for instance. And so each year, or every other year, as we go to Carson City to work with the legislature, we really do look at them as our partner. Because at the end of the day, we serve the same constituent, right? That constituent here at home or in Reno or Elko, wherever they may be, they don't really care who solves their problem. They just want the problem solved.
Exactly.
And so we really try to partner with our state legislators. And Councilwoman Diaz is a good example, having been there before. Now at the local level, she recognizes there are things you can do in Carson City, and there are things that you can't do in Carson City.
Right.
That are best.
That's why she has such a unique perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things that are best handled at the local level, the government closest to the people. So, but it creates a good atmosphere for collaboration, working together. And so when Councilwoman talks about establishing policy, this is sometimes at a 2-year clip. Having local elected officials engage in the process with their state legislative counterparts really helps them develop that policy that can endure for at least that 2-year period until we get back there and need to make some changes to that.
Councilman, you're very good at that. You've had great dialogue with those people those state lawmakers whose districts overlap yours. And that dialogue obviously pays off when the session begins, and we're trying to at least accomplish common goals.
Well, at the end of the day, we have overlapping constituencies, right? And so I think it's very important to keep an open line of communication. And also, I understand that when I was a state legislator and I was only an elementary school teacher, I had that lens. I knew a lot about the public education system. I knew about what it was to grow up in Las Vegas. But I lacked the knowledge that I now hold after being a councilwoman for the city of Las Vegas for 5 years. It's just another
much broader.
Just you become a subject expert in local government at another level. And even though you sit on a government affairs committee, which I never did, I was always assigned to judiciary or the Ways and Means committee in the morning, but you just don't understand the complexities of having to provide services to your residents and the budget constraints and limitations, and how we can't move as swiftly and as quickly as we want to because we don't have a funding stream to make the work happen. And so I try to do my best to just make sure that when there's things that are helpful, I'm there to tell the legislators how awesome and supportive I am. And then also if there's things that are harmful, I try to also make them aware that sometimes there are unintended consequences. You have the best interests at heart, but sometimes the way it's executed isn't the best.
Exactly right, and you have that perspective. Now, in the local media, we're hearing that the big issues in the legislative session this time are going to be education, budget, affordable housing, and film tax credits. That's what kind of is the general consensus. We'll talk what the city's priorities are, but do you two both agree with that? Is that kind of, would you say those are the overall main issues that the legislature is going to attack?
A lot of it has to do, and this isn't, because the school district isn't providing awesome educational opportunities to our children. It's because of the funding. And we're just not equipped as a state. We don't have the same amount of dollars in coffers that so many of the other states that have a state income tax can tap into. And so then we're limited as to how much we can grow that per pupil expenditure. And so it's so sad that that money component is really what's holding us down in the rankings nationwide, because I think if we were more comparable to a better health, like an increase of per pupil, we would see us jump probably 10 places, but right now we're near the bottom. And so that doesn't make anybody feel good. And then obviously affordable housing is something that everyone talks about, and the lack of supply for the demand in terms of affordable units for our community. So I think those are pretty good. We'll have to see what is all in the film tax credit package. We definitely need to kind of weigh the pros and the cons, and hopefully there's a benefit.
Bring in movie making companies, for example, film companies, but not give away the farm in the process.
Exactly. So. We've got to make it a win-win for everyone.
Some states, they really get their lion's share of productions. Louisiana, Georgia, New Mexico, California, of course.
And with technology, I mean, all you need is a green screen.
We have one right over there. So we can shoot a movie right in here.
There you go.
Councilwoman, that's a good synopsis of kind of the overall issues that the legislature will be attacking and addressing this year. Randy, let's talk about the city's priorities. The city gets 3 bill draft requests, or BDRs, that they're allowed to submit every year. Let's go through what the city has submitted for the legislature to consider this year. Sure,
we used all 3 this year. We don't always do that, but we have some pressing issues to get at. Our priority bill this session is to establish a Medicaid reimbursement code for medical respite care. Now, medical respite care is a term that's specific to our homeless individuals. A few years ago during the pandemic, we worked with the county to establish the ISOQ that helped homeless individuals get their vaccination or come to recuperate and recover, quarantine.
That's what ISOQ is, isolation quarantine.
Sorry, thank you. And as that wound down, there was still a need for those homeless folks. They still didn't have a home to go to.
Exactly.
And so what typically happens if you're living on the streets and you get anything from a cold or a flu to a broken bone, to a cut.
Or a surgery in the hospital.
Or surgery, you go to the emergency room typically. That's some of the most expensive care in healthcare. And so after a couple of days, once you're stabilized, where the hospital would discharge you or release you, you and I would go home. They don't have a home to go to, so they end up being discharged to the street. Well, they still haven't fully recovered.
Right.
And so what happens is the wound gets infected or the bone doesn't set or whatever, and 2-3 weeks later they're back in the ER. We just keep this cycle. So several years ago, after the pandemic, the city refurbished a building and stood up a recuperative care center, 40-bed facility where homeless folks can come and recover from those.
It's like a rehab almost. Yeah.
Right, recover from those sort of more minor kinds of health issues. And so we provide quite a range of primarily primary care, but also some advanced wound care and healing and sort of those sorts of things. But the other key to the recuperative care center is while that individual is there, we do some intensive case management to try to connect them to other services. Right. So that when they're ready to go, hopefully there's a transitional housing or some place to go where they can continue their recovery. But then they get connected with the workforce and education opportunities and those sorts of things.
That's key to the Councilwoman, that continuum of care, because it's not just a revolving door where they're, into the hospital, into the recuperative care center, back on the street, and then around and around and around. Let's try to get them into housing, into a job. They've got an addiction, to get that addressed and move on from there.
Yeah, and I just want to stress why it's important, because we knew it was the right thing to do. We were seeing a lot of folks coming to our courtyard adjacency or even to the courtyard in not so great condition and needing a place to heal. Yeah. And so the compassionate thing to do is to provide a space then for them to have some respite and to have some care and to make sure that we're kind of nipping in the bud this revolving cycle of having to go back to the ER because they can't get well enough because they're out in the elements. And so it would be nice then for when they're transitioned out of the hospital and they're coming to another care center to be reimbursed as a city for the care that is being provided for these individuals. And so that's why the need is because there is a cost to the city to offer these services, and we're just trying to find a way to then make this something that we can continue to do in the future, because we know that sometimes when we don't have the funds coming in to help us provide a service and something happens where we don't have the funds to continue to have it operationally, then it's something I wouldn't want to see gone, because it's the only thing of this magnitude that exists in all of Southern Nevada.
And then, Randy, the legislature's part in all of that would be to divert some of that federal Medicaid money, right? That we could allot to this.
Correct. They would establish a code, a reimbursement code, where we could seek reimbursement for the services that were provided in our recuperative care center.
Randy, we've got just a few minutes here. Let's talk about our second priority. And this was what Councilwoman talked about, affordable housing. Let's talk a little bit about that. And we all know, I think everyone watching knows that housing in Southern Nevada has just skyrocketed. Whether you're owning a home, renting, whatever it might be, it is so much more expensive than it was just even a couple of years ago.
So our second bill actually has two parts to it. One, we currently are authorized to provide an incentive for affordable housing through an enterprise fund, but that's capped at projects that are built at 60% of area median income, or AMI. That's helpful. It builds some. But as you mentioned, the cost of housing, market rates, interest rates, and everything else has risen and risen and risen. And so we'd like to extend that 60% to go to the 120% AMI, which gives us some more flexibility, but also allows us to target a part of the market that is underserved.
Yeah.
What we typically call the missing middle. There are several different programs for folks that are severely cost burdened for housing, but those who are sort of middle income folks,
good job, but not a really high paying job.
Right. Just making ends meet.
Right, exactly.
And that's the portion of the population that is, I would say, bearing the brunt of these higher housing costs and lack of supply, those sort of things. So that's the piece that would help us in that area. The second piece is what we call a transit oriented development. tool. In current state law, local governments can use a tax increment financing tool to help finance local improvements, roads, streets, sewers, those sorts of things that help a project sort of get off the ground. We'd like to add a couple of other allowable uses: transportation improvements and affordable housing. And when we talk about transit-oriented development, that is sort of, think of it in terms of building a small village or a self-contained sort of development. You have your shopping there, you have your commercial space there, you have your living accommodations. A good example for us is our Desert Pines project. That's a large-scale one, but it has different levels of housing, different income levels of housing. It has education components, it has commercial components, all those things. That's a 100-acre site. But we also have areas throughout the city. As we've talked about, the city of Las Vegas is landlocked. We don't have a lot more room to grow out, so we're starting to grow up. So you talk about a 2, 3, 4, 5-acre parcel in the middle of town somewhere. This type of tool would help the overall financing of that project pencil out so that it could be built, and we could offer those more affordable and attainable housing for our folks.
Excellent. Randy, we've just got a couple of minutes left here, but the last bill draft request, really kind of a housekeeping item, more for the planning and zoning folks, so they can kind of have a consistency across the state. I don't think the average folks out there really will want to get into the detail on that, but it's important to the planners and the zoners out there. I want to talk to you both about what can people do. Sometimes I think people feel a little helpless. The legislature's going on up there in Carson City. I'm just kind of, I'm not even along for the ride. I don't even really know what's going on. What are your suggestions, Councilwoman, on staying connected and being able to have some input or to even stay in touch with what's happening up there?
Well, in times of technology, we do have access now that I think COVID-19 also expedited and helped facilitate. And so I know that the legislature has also been innovative and creative. And we have the NELIS system where people can build tracks. So you can go look for NELIS, Nevada Legislature, and you can actually search for subject areas that you're interested in. And you can build then an alert system, create your own account, follow the things that are important to you. And it will tell you the hearing times and dates, what committee it's going to be in, when it goes for a vote on the floor, whether in the Assembly or the Senate. And so I would definitely highly recommend that if they don't have a NELIS account, to create one. And then secondly is once they find and pinpoint those areas of interest they want to pursue and follow, is to show up and voice support or opposition, because sometimes we hate something too. So it's okay. You can go and also provide why you think it's a bad idea to go in a certain direction. And that's what I love about the public process, is that we should be hearing from everyone in our community what their thought process is so that we can make a better informed decision. And so we were talking before the show how the legislative building has left the city. We had it since I think the late 90s.
Yes, the Sawyer building,
Grant Sawyer, or early 90s. It was built
early 90s.
And then this legislative session, it's no longer on Washington and Las Vegas Boulevard. It's now, the legislative buildings are now relocated in the county off of Warm Springs and the 215. So I would really recommend that people familiarize themselves with the new address and where they are supposed to turn out if they want to participate from Southern Nevada. And obviously there's people who are so passionate, they'll make the flight up to Carson City.
That's true.
And go enjoy just the process, because it is something I would highly recommend if somebody is interested in the space and has the ability to do it, to go out there and see it for themselves.
I would say the one thing that I would add, if you can't go to Carson, if you can't go to the south end of town, you can still participate
on the phone, virtually.
Virtually.
Great.
You can call in and add testimony that way. You can email your legislators, and everything. And the one word of advice I would give you is be polite. It's always polite to be polite, right? Yeah. If you're screaming at folks, think about how you respond if folks are screaming at you. So be polite. You can be direct. You can disagree, but you'll get a lot better result if you approach it in a kind and kind of professional way.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Ray. I think whether you agree with what's going on or not, everyone in the legislature is there to try to make the community better, make the state better. And we may not all see it the same way of how we get there, but the intentions of everyone are all the same.
It's public service. They are leaving their home, their families, I know so many legislators that leave their spouses and their children behind or have to relocate them temporarily to Carson. It's a huge sacrifice.
Yeah, sure is.
But they're doing it because they want to do what's best by the residents that elected them. So totally, and I hope that everyone knows who their state legislators are. If you don't, you need to go and look, put in your address and find out who that assembly member and that state senator is for you.
Yeah. Councilwoman, thank you so much. Randy Robison, great job. Thank you so much. Best of luck at the session up there. I guess we'll see you sometime 15 days from now or so.
After he recovers.
After he recovers. Well, good luck, and thank you for all the work that you do. Councilwoman, we're going to tell everybody out there we need to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to tell you about all the upcoming events in Ward 3. It's right after this.
Encuentra el bosque más cercano en descubreelbosque.org. El bosque, más cerca de lo que crees.
Cuando tú te gradúas, ellos se gradúan.
Lo hago por ti.
¿Qué le dijo el pollo policía al otro pollo policía? Necesitamos apoyo.
Cuando tú te gradúas, ellos se gradúan.
Cuando las personas se alimentan, sus futuros se nutren. Únete al movimiento para acabar con el hambre.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking with Councilwoman Olivia Diaz from Ward 3. You have some wonderful events coming up, a lot of really good ones.
We always stay busy.
Let's tell everybody about them.
And we always need your help, so we hope that you'll come by
Yeah.
and help us out. I know that at our recent cleanup of our Safe Village initiative for the gateway to the city, or formerly known as Naked City, we had a really
Gateway
awesome
District, right?
turnout, and so I'm hopeful that we'll get some much needed love and support. So the first one is our park and trail cleanup with our fabulous partner Get Outdoors Nevada.
love them.
I love their work. We are always hauling tons of trash from so many. It's unfortunate. There's so much trash that we all leave behind when we visit our parks and our trails,
folks.
but
Take it with you.
But it does take the village then to clean up after ourselves. So I hope that you'll join us this upcoming Saturday, February 8th from 9 a.m. to 11 at East Las Vegas Family Park. And this is a park that's adjacent the Wash. And so
it's a nice park.
Needs some TLC with all of our hands on deck at 4480 East Washington Avenue. I hope you all can come.
9 o'clock that morning, 9 to 11, and the more the merrier. Those are good events.
Yeah,
they really are.
You get some steps, you're cleaning Mother Nature, you leave inspired that you did your part to make the world a better place. So that's how I feel.
You get to hang out and with the network with your friends and neighbors too.
So grabbers, your gloves, they provide everything. You just need to show up.
Just need your elbow grease.
Exactly.
And then, Councilman, you've got an arts grants workshop coming up on February 13th. What is this?
This is the Nevada Arts Council is going to be providing information on upcoming grants for individuals and organizations that are artists and or dabble in the art space. And so sometimes we don't know how to access pockets of money that could then help me further
Fund my project,
my art goals for 2025. And so this is intended to educate our community on how to apply for these grants and what sources are out there for different organizations and individuals. So I hope that you'll turn out. It's at East Las Vegas Community Center, Ballroom B, Thursday, February 13th, and the session will happen from 3 to 5 p.m. And obviously, for those of you that don't know where East Las Vegas Community Center is, it's located at 250 Northeastern Avenue on Stewart and Eastern Avenues.
Councilwoman, that's so perfect for your ward because the Arts District is in your ward, and so that's a perfect relationship.
And the city has always been a huge proponent and supporter of the arts, and I myself feel that we need to stay committed, and in a time that we don't know how we're going to continue to fund more of these art projects in the future, we just need to make sure that everybody's armed with the information they need for those opportunities. They don't come sometimes as often as we want, but we want them to be very versed and very ready for when they do appear. And I think if they stay connected with our arts department, there's also calls to artists that we float every so often, and we want them to also be aware of those channels as well.
I love it. And then let's get back to nature. You have a tree planting at Stewart Place Park. This is going to be on March 1st.
Oh my gosh, we can't have enough trees on the east side, especially in my ward, because we are a mature ward, and sometimes those trees have died or have been pulled out, and so we need our clean air. And so I hope that you'll come and you'll partake on March 1st. It's a Saturday from 9 to 11, and it's at Stewart Place Park, which is it's like a pocket park in a neighborhood located at 4700 Chantilly Avenue near Nellis and Charleston. And again, we're teaming up with our fabulous Get Outdoors Nevada to bring this.
So yeah, Stewart.
And we know that trees take less water resources and offer a plethora of pros like cleaner air quality, coolness, and we want to attract precipitation. We want more rain.
Yeah, exactly right. And then, Councilwoman, let's talk about the art and mental health fair that you have going on March 22nd. That'll be just a few weeks after.
That's actually, I need to give all the praise and all the kudos to Corey Fagan, who established Art U OK after the pandemic. She saw the impact that it had on mental health in our youth, and she provides this art and mental health resource fair to our community completely free. So this is her third annual Art U OK Art and Mental Health Resource Fair, and it's going to be at our historic 5th Street School like it was last year, 401 South 4th Street, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on March 22nd. And so
great idea.
I know that as parents, we struggle sometimes to connect with our teens and to get them to share with us what is happening. But I think sometimes just having them experience how they can let their emotions flow or share their feelings and techniques, I think that this is going to be helpful for everyone. Even we adults sometimes need to learn new ways to be better equipped to deal with times when we're not feeling 100%.
Exactly. It's something we tend not to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Councilwoman, you have about 30 seconds, but there's also a High Roller Blooms exhibit by Lolita. This is going to run through April 25th, but this is pretty cool.
Yes, it's in Ward 3, and I want to give kudos to our art commissioner, Fawn Douglas. She has her own art gallery called New Woo, and it's located at 1331 South Maryland Parkway, and she's going to be having this lovely exhibit happening there at New Woo from now until April 25th. So I hope if you haven't been by, check it out. She's constantly trying to program it with multiple artists from our community.
Love it. Good stuff all the way around. Well, Councilwoman, we want to tell everybody out there, we always want to hear from you. So if there's something you'd like to share with Councilwoman Olivia Diaz, you can call her at 702-229-4623 or send her an email. Her address is odiaz@lasvegasnevada.gov. You can also visit the Ward 3 website or subscribe to the Councilwoman's newsletter. We'll tell you how to do that in just a moment. Councilwoman, always a pleasure. Great to have you on the show. We'll have you back toward the end of March, and we'll do it all again. We'll talk about what else is going on in Ward 3.
It'll be spring by then.
It will be. It will be. Thank you so much. Good to see you again. And folks, don't miss our next show beginning on February 13th with Councilwoman Frances Allen Polensky. You can catch all of our City of Las Vegas TV shows on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. Also, watch for that QR code after the show to subscribe to the newsletter I mentioned. And don't forget, you can watch us live on the internet at lasvegasnevada.gov/connect. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time around.